Good afternoon and welcome to You and Your Business with me, Alec on 103.2 Dublin City FM. Each week, I invite an expert from the world of business to share their knowledge, insights, and tips to help you with your business challenges. If there's a topic you would like discussed, or if you feel you can make a contribution, please email me at yourbusiness@dublincityfm.ie and perhaps we'll be having a chat here one day soon. My guest today is a serial entrepreneur, coach, and keynote speaker. He builds entrepreneurs so they can build amazing companies. And he's also built 6 companies over the past 30 years and amassed $250 million in sales. Wow, I'm delighted to welcome Mike Savage to You in Your Business studio. Hiya, Mike.
Hey, Alec, how are you? I'm visiting from across the pond in Boston. So excited to be with you in your office.
That's fantastic. I might even take you to the studio as well, but not to worry about that. Let's get into you. Last year in school, this is how I like to start with people. Let's put them on the spot. Were you the academic? Were you the what was going on in your mind?
Well, at age 18, my school was, I was the academic. I would say I was probably borderline nerd. While I did I played baseball and golf and basketball during school. And did good. I did well in school. As I reflect back, it wasn't a pleasurable time
All right.
necessarily. I know I was bullied, and I got to the point where, you know what, I don't think I had the greatest self-esteem,
All right.
and people got to me. But it's, hey, we all go through it. And this, what most of it, I'll give myself the 80-20 rule. 80% was good, but the
Right.
20% is part of the stuff I've been carrying with me.
Yeah, sure. It's amazing how many people I interview who have had that experience and it's affected their lives differently, of course. And I probably will see whether how much it's impacted on you as we progress with the story. So, I mean, in terms of academia, were you going to do something with that? Were you going to go to college or where were you
Yeah,
going?
like I said, I think I was a geek. I was a math and science kid, and I ended up going to engineering school and got a bachelor's and master's degree in mechanical engineering. So I was,
Oh,
and it was also awakening for me, because I was leaving an environment that I wasn't extremely excited about and entering a new world where, my self-esteem started to grow. I lost a lot of those insecurities that sort of, I think, saddled me.
sure.
I think, quite frankly, fear holds back many people, and fear is just another word for insecurity. When people rattle you mentally, it can affect every area of your life, honestly.
Yeah, that's true. It is true. So, I mean, the subjects that you picked in college, why?
Yeah, they were the engineering classes. There were, some of the names that actually make my hair rise on the back of my neck right now. Thermodynamics and differential equations and statics and it's like it. But I loved it, quite honestly. I loved learning about how stuff goes together. Every product in the world is engineered. It doesn't just magically appear. Planes and spaceships and boats and cars and, our iPhones, whatever it is, they're engineered. So I fell in love with the world of engineering. And I still love it to this day. It's helped me with virtually every company, that
Right.
I've had, because, when I have engineers working for me, they can't really bullshit me and, like, and tell me something that I can't understand. So it's been a blessing. I love my background. I just don't do a lot of it. After I
Yes.
graduated, I went into the business world and got a job and did a lot of it, but not any longer.
Yeah. There was going to be a sort of a moment of impact in your life when you were at college that was probably going to reshape the future. Would you like to share a bit about that?
Yeah, I got one of those, as we all get them. I got a life curveball when I was 6 weeks from finishing my master's degree. I'm writing my thesis. I'm dotting my I's and crossing my T's. I'm 22 years old, and my dad died of a heart attack
Oh,
at
wow.
51
Yeah.
years old,
Mm.
and it shook me.
Yeah.
As you would imagine, I had a younger brother and a younger sister at home, and and my mom, obviously by herself at that point, and my dad owned a business. He
Right.
was a pharmacist, and so that whole experience, my dad dying, and there was a 10-month period of my life that started with that,
Sure.
that has completely reshaped my belief systems.
All right.
And I learned more about my mom during those times, about how tough and resilient she was. And I ended up getting married and divorced in a 10-month period. So
Wow. Wow.
my recommendation would certainly be, when a tragedy happens in your life, take a couple years before you make a big life decision. I
Right.
got married 28 days after my dad died.
Wow.
So
Oh, man.
don't recommend it. Um,
Yeah.
but all of those things that happen in my 10-month, call it my hellhole, it has crafted the dude that I am today, and also built the foundation of how I am a dad,
Right.
and in my relationships with my kids and my wife. So
Yeah, that's quite interesting. Again, I think there's a tip there for all of our listeners, and don't make large decisions when you're not in a mindset to do it. Sometimes you need to back off and just have
this
space.
thing that sits on our shoulders, Alec, is the most powerful force in the universe.
Mm.
And when it's working well and you're taking care of it and you're putting in, one of my favorite motivators that I studied since I was 17 years old, Zig Ziglar, said, you got to put in the good, the clean, the pure, the powerful, and the positive. And when the bad stuff's going in, and sometimes life situations are real, and you can't prevent them from happening.
True.
When there's the less balanced stuff in there, it's tough to progress. It's tough to go through, and that's why you and I are both in the same world of coaching, because
Sure.
we know the power and the value of having that sounding board, someone that you can be open with and authentic with. And running a business is not it's not all about spreadsheets and digital
No.
marketing and social media. There are some pretty exciting and challenging moments that go on that are very emotional in nature. So
Yeah.
it's the full gambit.
And if you're just joining us now, you're listening to You and Your Business with me, Alec Drew, on 103.2 Dublin City FM, where my studio guest today is Mike Savage. Yes, I mean that certainly was a shocker in life for you, and fair play, we all have to navigate our way through some of the awful parts of life. But you were going to go on into a corporate career, which tell our listeners a bit about that.
Yeah, no, I was excited. I went into the world of computers and designing computers and the components in computers, and I was in there for 6 months, and I realized that the corporate world was not for me.
All right,
I am not the most patient. I was not blessed with that. That was not a gene that I received from my parents, and it was a big company. It took way too long for things to happen.
sure,
And so 6 months I stayed mentally, 6 years I stayed physically.
right,
But during that time, I went off and started building companies. I would be loyal and authentic to my employer,
right,
but 5 a.m. I would be up building a business, and I'd do that till 8 a.m. I'd go to work 9 to 5, and I'd come back and I'd work, 6 to midnight. And I did
right.
that for years as I was building businesses. And I ended up building a $1 million business while I was still working, where I still had a full-time job. And quite honestly, that's something that I would strongly recommend people consider, as
Right.
they are, if they are caught with that entrepreneurial bug. If that thing is that entrepreneurial bug's eating away at you, guess
Mm.
what? Chase your dreams. You and I had talked previously about,
Sure.
find something you love and monetize it.
Yeah.
But when you go into the entrepreneurial world, there's this thing that can kind of get in the way, and it's called cash. There's only one way to go out of business, and that's if you run out of cash.
Yeah.
And so having that other source of income while you chase your dream becomes so essential. It's one of those lessons that it's oftentimes people, oh, I'm going for it. Yeah, I'm going after, like, great, good for you. Go after it.
Yeah.
How's cash flow?
Yes.
I always ask, how's cash flow? That's like my clients are sick of me. How's cash flow? Now think about this, Alec. The number of, during COVID, the number of companies we lost, the world lost a lot of businesses,
Sure.
but there's also a lot of businesses that stuck around in the
Yeah.
hospitality world, in the airline business, and some of these global places. They didn't go out of business, and there's only one reason:
Yeah.
because they had a pot of cash that kept them afloat.
Exactly. And
And
there you go. And there's a valuable lesson in all of that. So I mean, you're building the business. Again, you had to learn to be an entrepreneur, and both you and I coach people on this. Where were you picking up this information? That because a trial and error, was it a baptism of fire for you?
well, there's an organization in the U.S. called the Small Business Association, and SCORE, which is called the Service Corps of Retired Executives,
Right.
and it's all free. And I would be, I was nauseating to the people that would be given this free advice, because I would be all over them all the time, asking questions, trying to learn stuff, because I didn't grow up in an entrepreneurial family. I didn't understand it. I just knew that I couldn't take the corporate world. And so there was a lot of trial by fire, but there
Hmm.
was also a lot of, how do I learn some of these things? And one of my favorite quotes is, the greatest learning laboratory on earth is at the feet of someone who's already done what you're trying to do. So
Great.
if you're trying to build a business in, I don't know, by aerospace, or maybe it's the medical industry, go study the people that have already done that. If you're trying to build a technology company, or a service, be a service provider, go study the people that have already done it. We live in a very different world today. They got this thing called Google. There's no question that you cannot get an answer to by typing it in Google. So we didn't have that luxury. There's so
No.
much free stuff right now that's available to you as an entrepreneur. But one thing that I will say, if the audience is out there looking to build businesses, and or they are entrepreneurs, I always say, it is an emotional and financial roller coaster.
Sure. Sure.
Entrepreneurship is an emotional and financial roller coaster. And when people say, Mike, what do? I help people travel through this emotional and financial roller coaster, because it's not all about numbers and spreadsheets and social media and business plans. It's not. The hardest part for any business, to me, especially starting off, is the loneliness.
Yes. Yes.
You're by yourself. You may have a team, you may have a small team, but at the end of the day, you're going home and you talk to that bathroom mirror, and the bathroom mirror can say some good stuff to you. This is my line. I say, hey, if your bathroom mirror is your board of advisors, it might be fun to invite Mike to the next meeting.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Meaning that it is difficult. And so, that's, and I also had another moment in my life, and I had my 10 months of hell, but I also had another moment that, I was in a really bad spot with my business, with my, my mom was dying. I had all these things going on, and a coach saved my life, legitimately
Wow.
saved my life,
Wow.
because I was just in a bad place. And I would encourage anyone that's out there. I don't care if you're just starting out or you've got a, $100 million business, having a coach, or having a sounding board, or having a mentor, having an advisor that can go on the journey with you, is worth its weight in gold.
And I think that's a fantastic piece of advice. Most people forget it's so lonely at the top, where problems, as they say, a problem shared is a problem halved. And
Right. Right.
and it's so important just to have, or even to have a sounding board, people to steer you in the right direction. You will be given important problems to solve, and you may not have the skills to do it, but to have somebody experienced at your side. Yeah, Mike, I'm on the same page as you there. It's really good. But you were also doing all sorts of other stuff as well. You were trialing out in real estate, insurance. Tell us a bit about those sort of experiences as you were working your way to find where you wanted to get to in the end.
Yeah, I think most of this was in my 20s, and a lot of it was, hey, I want money. I want money. So I'm going to go do these things. I joined at least 3 multi-level marketing businesses, from Amway to New Skin. I don't even remember all the name of it. But then got into, trying to peddle insurance and trying to buy and sell rental properties. And the mistake I made is I was chasing money.
Right.
I didn't love any of it. Quite frankly, I hated it. And so eventually it was, what is it that I love? And I told the story about my dad who passed early. The one lesson or the one life moment, the shift in me was that, my dad didn't take care of himself physically.
Sure.
And, I'm probably in the top 1% now of men my age from a health and physical fitness standpoint. And it was because I was reshaped by that moment. Like, I don't want this pain. I don't want my children to ever experience this. And not that we can ever predict, if that time comes, we're not, all blessed with knowing the exact moment, but I was going to at least do the best I could to take care of my body and take care of my mind. And so that was one of those things that I learned. So I ended up moving into the world of fitness and exercise. And most of the companies that I built have been in the world of fitness equipment and health clubs industry and health and wellness coaching and all of those things that surround the world of health, physical health. And I guess now I've transitioned into the world of mental health because quite honestly, I think that being an entrepreneur and running a business, you need someone. So that's why I love what I'm doing right now.
And if you're just joining us now, you're listening to You and Your Business with me, Alec Drew, on 103.2 Dublin City FM, where my studio guest today is Mike Savage. That's quite interesting, Mike, what you were talking about. And I mean, it's also interesting that a tragedy earlier in your life has inspired you on to take the lessons from that and now pass them on to other people as part of your sort of program. Let's start talking about your program, because you've amassed over $250 million in sales across your businesses. So obviously money's not an issue here. And you've talked about find something you love and monetize it. I don't see you retiring ever like me. Retiring is doing what we're doing now, really. So
it's funny you say about retiring. I hear so many people say, because I'm 57 years old right now, and I got friends that are like, oh, I'm looking forward to retiring. And then they say, I'm going to retire and do something I love. Like, wait a minute, what's wrong? What is wrong? So you're going to wait till you're 65 years old and then start doing something you love? Yeah. I'm like, man, that's a long life.
Yeah. And particularly as you identified with the thing called Google, where you can find so much information out there.
Oh, God, yeah.
I
think oftentimes people get stuck, Alec. I think they get stuck, they're the paycheck to paycheck thing, and the fear, which is the one thing I think that prevents most people in the world from really enjoying life. But they're afraid to take that next step. And so in my world now, as a coach and as a speaker, one of the things that I talk about is I have a philosophical approach to entrepreneurship. I don't think it's all about business. Right. I call my philosophy the entrepreneur's trilogy. Okay. And I say that we as entrepreneurs live and star. We star in 3 movies simultaneously. I call them Heart Set, Mindset, and Skill Set. Right. And Heart Set, the number 1 movie that we star in, the 3 most important pieces, in my opinion. And again, if you don't like my opinion, I don't care, because it's my opinion. Yeah. But it's our health, the one thing we take for granted until it's taken away, our relationships with our friends and our family and our children and our siblings and our spouses, and our happiness. And if you think about it at its core, if you have your health and you have great relationships and you're happy, you've already won the game, right? It's over, game over. I've won the game of life. The challenge or the opportunity that comes is All right, well, I want to get to that next level. How do I do that? Well, that's movie number two. Movie number two is called mindset, which is what's all the stuff that's been put into my brain since birth? Has it propelled me or poisoned me? So what's gone in there and what are you putting in now? And then, so that's our mind. And then our motivation, which is our goals, our dreams, our vision. What are those things that pull us into action? You know, what are those things that drive us? I have an event coming up. I'm not even sure when this is going to post, but I have an event coming up on November 10th. It's called your 2023 goals. No, it's called your 2023 goals on fire. And I'm basically stepping through my book, which is called Dream Big and Crush Your Goals. And I also have a workbook that goes with it, but we're going to take action and we're going to build the goals and the dreams for next year. And so it's our mind, our motivation, and our movement. You can't just visualize something great happening in your life and sit on the couch and hope that someone knocks on your front door and delivers you the thing you're dreaming about. You need to get off your ass and go do something. And so that's movie two. And movie number three, I call skill set, which is the fundamental building blocks of an organization. You know, we all have a product or service. We all have a target market, ideal client. Every product or service on earth exists for one reason: to solve a problem. Now, if you think about it in its simplicity, everything out there is solving a problem.
Sure.
So we've got our product, our target market, and our strategic marketing plan. I call that the heartbeat of business, and you got to get it right, because you can go into a whole bunch of other stuff and make it big and elaborate and fancy. And there's things like cash flow and human resources and employees and all that stuff. But if you don't get those three pieces right at the beginning, you got to understand your product and the competitive landscape. You've got to understand in excruciating detail who your ideal client is. And you need to understand what marketing is, strategic marketing, because it makes the rest of the world, the rest of the things that you do, easier.
And it's interesting because you and I hear it all the time. Asher, what would I do with a coach? I can do it myself. I'm saving money.
Whew. Yeah. I think there's only two ways to learn things in life. And maybe someone has a different philosophy, but again, this one is mine. You can learn on your own, which usually hurts more, costs more, and takes longer, or you can learn at the feet of someone who's already done what you're trying to do. And there is a cost either way. It can cost you time. It can cost you money. You know, when I started this new business, I have two coaches right now in my life. I will have a coach in my life until I go to my grave, because it's lonely. It is a challenge to do it on your own. But when I started this new business, the first thing I did before I had my business cards, I hired an executive assistant. Now, why would I do that, Mike? You have no revenue. Yes, but my time is worth something. And you can get to that next level. So to me, having a coach that, and again, coaches, unfortunately, the term has become so watered down. They're a dime a dozen. You know, you can take a course for an hour and a half and call yourself a certified coach in any area. It could be nutrition. It could be life coaching. It could be whatever, relationship coaching. Find someone that has done what you're trying to do. Find someone that's been in the trenches. It's often difficult when, you know, if you've built companies, you have a completely different perspective than someone that calls themselves a business coach who spent 35 years as an HR manager and said, hey, you know what? I'm now going to take a course and call myself a business coach. If you're running a company, find someone and hang out with someone that's run and built companies. It's just different. And yes, to your question, it costs money.
Yes.
But there is also a cost. There could be one recommendation that your coach could make, one recommendation that can save you hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, could get you a sale that you never would have thought about. It's that experience that can help you. So yes, there is a cost to having someone in your corner, if you will, as a boxer. That's good.
Yeah.
Actually, not a bad analogy, because you know, entrepreneurship is often a boxing match. But have someone in your corner that can have the experience, say, gee, Mike, you should do this, or gee, Alec, you could do that. Maybe think about this a little bit differently. Coaches, to me, and it's easy to be talking to you because you're a coach as well, but
Yeah.
they're invaluable. And I'll go to my grave with a coach.
No, you're dead right, and I do exactly the same myself. And one of my clients, believe it or not, earlier in the year, I met him, and after the second meeting, identified how they could save 60,000 euros a year by making a slight change that would affect them about 10 minutes a week. And
But that to me is elegance right there. And is it an expense or is it an investment? A lot of people don't like to spend money, but a lot of people, everybody likes to make an investment.
Yes. And yes, and they'll only know from the experience. I suppose in the 2 minutes we've got left, and wow, that show has gone very quickly. Give me 2 minutes of advice, or also, and how people can find out more about you, Mike.
The advice I would give is real simple. It's you're an entrepreneur, you're chasing a dream, you're running a business, and that to me is the greatest high. Well, second greatest high, actually third. My children, my wife. Okay, after that, running a business and building a company is an absolute high. But please, I'm begging you, don't try to figure it out on your own. Even there are times when you can take a course, and taking a course is great. Go take a course, but have it a coach-led course. Have someone there that can answer your specific questions about your specific situation. It's an investment, but man, oh man, I've seen it happen. My clients, my greatest joy is not when a client comes to me and says, "Gee, Mike, you helped me improve my business." It's when they say, "Gee, Mike, you've changed my life. You've truly changed my life."
Yeah.
That is a high. And that is why coaches do what they do. To find me, my website is thesavagesecrets.com. And I've got a whole bunch I've got, podcasts and video trainings and all sorts of blogs and things like that on my YouTube page. And I would be delighted whenever this gets published. If anyone is out there, go to thesavagesecrets.com/2023 and join me live as I work with, I'm hoping to have hundreds of people at my event where we're just going to design our 2023. You get my book free, you get my workshop cheat sheets free, and it's just going to be a blast. We're going
You
to
might even
dive
sign
in.
me up, Mike. Anyway, what a great way to finish the show. The podcast of today's show will be available on dublincityfm.ie from tomorrow. Thank you for your company, and please remember to join me, Alec Drew, again next week at the same time, 1 o'clock, right here on 103.2 Dublin City FM for another edition of You and Your Business.